With this digital news update, I'm Kelly Swoop. When there's a crisis, there's a call for blood donations, but not everyone is answering that call. In fact, blood donations of African Americans can be as much as half that of whites. Matt Pearl breaks down why there are two Americas in something as simple as blood donations and what it's going to take to change this disparity.
Do you have your donor ID ready?
Yes.
You'll find few places more sterile than a Red Cross center for donating blood. The tubes, the bulbs, even the blood, it all runs the same. If any place was to be free of bias and inequity, it would be this. And yet, don't try to tell Tyranny Bell.
That's something I get all the time, but you don't look sick. And it's like, thank you that I don't look sick, but I am.
Bell was born with sickle cell anemia. She's one of roughly 100,000 Americans with the disease. Most are black.
I've had multiple surgeries, my spleen removed, my gallbladder removed. Oh wow, it's so much.
Sickle cell anemia keeps oxygen from the body. It limits physical activity. It starts at birth and stays for life. And it requires a transfusion of blood every month. Blood that comes from someone who carries the sickle cell trait because of the antibodies that come with it. The people most likely to carry it are black. But in America, a tapestry of diversity, the vast majority of blood donors are white. Black Americans make up 13% of the population and barely 2% of donors.
It's never just about the numbers. Red Cross officials are the first to point out there's a lack of access to donation spots in black communities, a lack of direct appeals to black communities, and a history of mistrust in which they admit they played a part.
In blood donation photos from World War II, diversity is near zero. That's because when the federal government and the Red Cross established the National Blood Donor Service in 1941, they excluded black donors. A year later, they changed course, but they segregated donations by race.
We have not always welcomed diverse communities, and that's a fact.
Yvette Marie Miller is the executive medical director at the Red Cross. The segregation policy drew backlash and boycotts. It went away soon after the war, but it set a tone that remains hard to shake.
Some of those health disparities and some of those access issues and inclusivity still remain today. So even though the past informs the present, it's the present that is really part of the issue. You commonly hear people say that when they're asked, why haven't they donated blood? They'll say, well, nobody ever asked me.
And that wariness, that frequent mistrust of the system, extends beyond blood.
In college, it was a little difficult to find a hospital that treated sickle cell patients and knew about sickle cell disease. We have like a joke in the sickle cell community. If a doctor come in and ask you, how long have you had sickle cell disease? Get up and get out, because you're born with it.
Today, the Red Cross runs an entire initiative devoted to finding sickle cell blood donors. And when they get interview requests like ours, they're quick to present volunteers like Hugh Rowden.
I've given 6 donations during the pandemic.
He's on the board of his local Red Cross chapter. On this day, at a blood donation center in a diverse community in Atlanta, the diversity of the donors doesn't look much different from those old photos.
You're always going to have people who are a little more hesitant. It's important for people to understand that it's okay to give.
For the most part, blood is blood. Race is irrelevant. Donation is safe and sterile. But for Tyranny Bell, the implications of a lack of black donors spur her to speak.
It's an invisible disease, so a lot of people don't believe you're in pain, or, doctors still have a hard time managing pain for sickle cell patients. It makes me think, like, at what point will I go to the hospital and not have the blood there?
In Lithia Springs, Georgia,
That's some sriracha.
I'm Matt Pearl.
Make sure you stick with us online for updates on our top stories and breaking news. And also for news and weather while you're on the go, download the WMAR 2 News app in the App Store. You can watch live radar and get breaking news sent straight to your phone. Thanks for watching. I'm Kelly Swoop.